All right, the property prequel, be in the know before you buy. We're back for another guest episode. Really excited around this one. We've actually got another female powerhouse in the building, which is epic. I'm always so passionate around wanting to get amazing females in the industry doing well. We had Liz Tilley, was one of our previous eps, one of our most listened to episodes. The amount of wisdom she shared was amazing. So give that one a listen. Had the Q&A last week. Appreciate all the feedback. But this week, we've actually got Jenn Sinclair from Comma Projects. I tell you what, I've seen it firsthand, not just on Instagram, in person. I've been through some of her bespoke development. So we're not only going to unpack that, but I'm really interested to see, like, she sounds like she's got a bright future in the game, but yeah, really trying to see how she balances that amazing hubby with kids, you know, a mum, doing development, starting the journey. There's a lot going on. I'm sure we're going to have an inspiring story. But Jenn from Comma Projects, thanks for jumping on the property prequel.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt.
No, it's exciting. I mean, I know we've connected in the past. So Jenn, I love I love people who are proactive, you know. And I remember you just reached out and said, "Hey, I want you to come through and feedback." And it was funny. I remember walking through and I was like, one of your first bespoke projects, and I remember thinking like, yeah, this chick, she knows what she's doing. Like, she knows what she's doing. I get through a lot of homes, and it was really exciting to hear, like, you've kind of just started the journey really, but we just want to kind of unpack. So that gives a bit of pre-frame to tell people, like, we don't always get people who are, you know, 20 years into the game. We like people anywhere on the journey. And I think a lot of people who are listening right now are in your shoes or want to be in your shoes. So I really want to try and add some value to them. So firstly, Jenn, backstory, like we'll touch on the property stuff, but where are you from? What were you doing as a young Jenn?
Young Jen. I was born and grew up in Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time, you know, in shopping centres.
Yeah, it's concrete jungle, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Concrete jungle. But shops can get old very quickly. So I think, a lot of the weekends were spent with Dad taking us to open homes.
Really?
And like open homes over there in Hong Kong are like massive, brand new developments of like 10 new towers of buildings, right?
Yeah.
And so there's like so much family fun activities. So that's probably why Dad took us there, just to kill time.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time growing up walking through property.
Really? Yeah.
And
so you did all your schooling in Hong Kong? And
I did. Okay. So there was also a bit of back and forth. Like when I was 3 years old, Dad moved us over to Central Coast here in Australia for a couple of years, I think just to like prep us to get Australian citizenship.
Yep.
And then at 6, I moved back. So I had to learn English when I was here, and then moving back to school, I had to relearn Chinese and Cantonese. Wow. And apparently I was really struggling, and they're about to like homeschool me just because I just wasn't catching up.
Yep.
I think that formed a part of, you know, me learning to be adaptable to, you know, different environments wherever I was. But yeah, like I think also having my uncle who's quite active in property investment and that, like that was always, I guess, property investment has always been
kind of
like
there and ingrained nearly.
Common thing.
Yeah, just in the subconscious mind.
Yeah, so I think I just grew up thinking that's what I do.
It's just kind of around you.
Or that's what people do. You grow up, get a job, and buy property. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I thought.
It's interesting, right? Like, again, because I'm part Asian too, I'm part Filipino, and I remember always like growing up when I go back home and stuff like that. There's a lot of Chinese influence there as well. Chinese, they're always doing something. They're always somehow thinking outside the box. I notice, like with Chinese, and you just saying that maybe it's like just the way the kids are brought up, and what they do. Would that be
Yeah,
correct? Or
it probably is. And like I think I guess a bit of history with China, like there's the population, there's so many people to have to compete with. So you do have to have that you just have to work hard to get anywhere really and survive. And funny you say that because it is competitive even in primary school. In second grade, I got ranked, like they rank you for your position in your class.
Wow.
And I got ranked 15th.
That's sad.
And my teacher told my mum, "Oh, Jen's better than that." And yeah, mum told me that when she came home, and that really like ignited something in me. I was like, oh, I'll prove her. I'll show her.
Yeah.
And the following term, I got ranked third.
Wow.
So I think there's obviously also that
just kind of ingrained.
drive.
Yeah.
That got built in me to, do the best I can.
Yeah.
But I guess moving onwards from there, we properly migrated to the Gold Coast.
Oh, cool.
When I was about 12.
Big change.
Yeah. Massive change. So 2 years before the big migration, I got sent to an international school where I then had to...
Here on the coast?
No, in Hong Kong.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. Relearn English again.
Wow.
I remember like every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, while all my friends were going out to have lunch and play basketball, I had to stay back and have English tutorial
Learning
lessons.
your A to Zs. And
No joke. And I was so embarrassed back then.
Yeah.
Like every time I'd try and look like, of course my friends knew what I was staying back for. But I think it was the perseverance back then that, I was forced to.
Yes.
Just keep improving myself, keep learning.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny because I obviously didn't know any of that, and it kind of, our childhood shapes so much of our identity, right? When we get older, and just thinking that now, like you even being proactive and reaching out and wanting feedback, and with your, I can tell you're meticulous with your design and stuff. Little, and it just. You peel back your childhood, and it just kind of makes sense. Like it sounds like, so English wasn't your first language. Wow.
No. Yeah.
Wow. There you go. Just quickly on that, what is that like coming into, because I've always wondered it, like with some immigrants who migrate here and then they just do big things. It's very common too.
Yeah.
And I agree it's probably with that. But what does that feel like when you're in a whole country and you can't do you know what I mean? Like that would have been pretty tough, or
I guess when you're young, and it was exciting. It was a very exciting big move.
Yeah.
As a 12-year-old girl, like I remember just moving to Australia, and I was like, I've never seen such expansive blue sky. You just don't get that in Hong Kong.
True.
And just being so fascinated, and I do also love nature, and so it was, for me personally, it was very exciting.
Yeah.
And English was just part of it, I guess.
That's amazing. So then with the property side of things, where did that, we got to touch on the ingrained a little bit through the uncle and obviously your family. Where did sort of property start injecting itself into like potentially a career?
Yeah. I guess, because it has been ingrained, and I just thought that's always what we did. So when I started dating Ben, my husband, he comes from a very entrepreneurial family background, and so he'd always been self-employed. And I was going through uni. I studied architecture.
Okay, there you go.
I always wanted to be a vet.
Yes.
And then I realised, actually, no, this is not for me. And the only other thing I could think of was to design some houses maybe.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so I went through my 6-year uni course, met my husband, and all of a sudden, by chance, he got offered a full-time job at Bond Uni at that stage. And we just thought, okay, while we both have full-time jobs at the moment, why don't we try and secure a property?
Yep.
Just because like, you know, when you're self-employed.
Yes, a lot harder to get borrowing.
They make you jump through hoops.
Hoops.
Yeah, even just in the rental market.
Yep.
Back then when we were trying to rent, like our rental application was like 40 pages long, I remember, just because we had to like provide all this other evidence because we didn't have page E.
Yes.
Payslip.
Yep.
So we were strategic.
Both got sort of corporate job, PAYG sort of thought.
Yeah. So, and that position was, I think, for only about 12 months. So we were like, let's jump on this opportunity.
Yep.
It was also a little bit of a bad timing because we'd planned to travel for a year.
Yeah.
We packed up all our stuff, put stuff in storage, and we had a big 1 year travel ahead of us.
Wow.
And we were just going to work on the road.
Yep.
And but we saw this opportunity, sat down with a mortgage broker here at Palm Beach and just saw what we could borrow. And we ended up purchasing, this was probably like 12 years ago. We ended up purchasing a little 3-bedroom up at Coombaba.
Yep.
For $280, I think.
Yeah,
$275.
wow. Freestanding home.
Yeah. Yeah, yard and everything.
Isn't it wild though? You sort of say those numbers now. It's just like, what the hell?
It was possible back then, but that's also the only thing we could afford.
Yeah.
So obviously, it was also in a lower socioeconomic street.
Yep.
It wasn't ideal, but we wanted to get our foot in the door.
Yeah.
So
love it.
We just purchased what we could.
Yes.
And so
just on that, Jen, just super quick, because I know there'll be people listening, right? Because we get so many people with this scenario reach out to our company and stuff as well. Like the ability to get in the market is huge. Like it's one of those ones you don't feel it until like a decade later, but it's like, man, if I didn't get into the market, some people think because it's so, I really want to get in this suburb or this. Sometimes you just got to get in the market.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds like that probably wasn't your favorite suburb on the Gold Coast, but you sort of had some hindsight then to be like, hey, we want to get into the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what would be some advice to that person who's kind of like, I do want to do property, but it's like, you know, it's just like doesn't feel right for them, but they want to do it, but it's like, you know, do you have any advice on?
Yeah, I think I do, you know, even just some of our friends, like I really want to get into it, but I don't want to go all the way out to Logan or somewhere else far away. But yeah, I think at the end of the day with Queensland, Australia, you can't really go wrong. It's forever. It's still got so much growth in the next 50, 100 years. We're still like really short on supply.
Very short,
and the demand of housing is only going to grow.
Yeah.
And if you can, you know, give it the 12, 24 months, just get in. And even if it's just a crappy little, which it was Coombaba for us. Yeah. We purchased it, went away on our 12-month holiday, well, travel, not holiday. Yeah. And the amount of the level, the tenants.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
The type of tenants that we got in there, I couldn't believe. I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, what do you mean this is happening and that's happening now? And our very last tenants, there was, we came back and there we found like vacuum cleaners in the garden.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's headache, but that got us in the market.
Yeah. Well, I was going to just put in perspective, right? So what'd you get it for?
280, 275.
What was that? How many years ago?
2013.
Yeah. Wow. So literally 1 decade cycle, right?
Yes.
So that 200 now, the value of that is obviously, we all know here, it's a lot more than that, like well and truly, right? And even you guys, and I say this to some people as well, like the old term now, it's becoming a bit of a buzzword, like the rent vesting. Like it was nearly a little bit of that too, because you obviously bought it, got the asset in your name and got the loan over the line, and then, is what it is. But then you rented it out and did whatever. I see a lot of people doing that strategy too, where it's like they might want to live in a certain location, gather the asset, get in there, get in the market, rent it out. And then, because the growth on that one, I'm assuming whenever you did you still have it or did you sell it, or what year?
We ended up selling. So we got burnt by that whole experience because of the type of tenants that we had in there. It was quite a bit of stress. It was literally Christmas Eve. We got a phone call. We were in Istanbul, I think.
Wow.
And the property manager said the tenants have flooded the bathroom. It's black water.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's Christmas.
Yeah. Wow.
What are we going to do? But, we did fix it up cosmetically as well just before we rented it out.
Yep.
So, I was I was siliconing,
the
facets and the taps and gave it some, I think it was just new carpet, new paint. So we did improve on it. And so we ended up selling it only a year afterwards for like, I think we made $90,000 profit.
How good, yeah.
So
net,
just under $100,000 in a year.
And a lot of people...
And back then too, that was
back
a
then,
lot.
I was going to say, that decade ago, a lot of people, a salary, they have to work a whole year. If not, that's what I mean, like around sometimes the hindsight of helicopter view, of property and the value and the asset of shelter, securing shelters. It's huge. It's huge. There's 90K net. And then where'd the journey take you from there?
I guess from
so obviously a few learnings from that too.
Selling that enabled us to purchase our next home in Robina. So after we got back from our travels, we just I wanted a dog. So we purchased Robina.
Awesome.
And then we spent probably all up over the next couple of years. We probably spent about $150,000. Once again, just cosmetic.
I was going to say, are we talking cosmetic kind of?
Yeah, cosmetic. Just new render exterior, new like roof restoration, new driveways and
paint, carpet kind of stuff.
Stuff like that. And so that was our home before we then built custom design and built the next one in Palm Beach.
Development. So just on that, so that's really good because a lot of people who are now following your journey probably don't know that little story there, which started at a humble little shack in a houso street. But isn't it just cool? Like, and the key thing is this for anyone who is listening, that story there is 99.9% of successful people in property who have started off. Whether it's the 1-bed unit somewhere like
we start somewhere.
I remember we had Michael and the Beige, I think they do a lot in Koala Park. Tony, Tony and Michael, legends. And I remember their first one was a little humble duplex. They was both sleeping on the floor, and balancing jobs and and again we're talking off air around another couple who are doing some great things, Southern Gold Coast. I remember their first few. They just had a baby. They're in the carving it out in the basement while doing the renos, and so it's just people don't hear the scar. They see the flashy stuff, but they don't see the scar tissue.
See the sacrifice,
the sacrifice.
So, like, I guess our decision to purchase Coomera meant that all of a sudden our 12-month of travel was very on a budget, on a shoestring. We didn't have much cash flow at all. Like we'd be in Japan and all we could spend on a meal was like $10. And we were very like, no, we can't do that. So, that became a part of, self-discipline as well, learning how to budget.
Love it.
Whilst making our dreams.
Come true. I was going to ask. So, Rabina, you sell that, and then you end up in Palm Beach as well, which is again, and people who don't know the Gold Coast, each one of these suburbs, they're all great suburbs, but each one's probably getting closer to the ocean, which is obviously the Gold Coast is very dictated, like a lot of east coast of Australia. Obviously, closer to the water, the higher the land value. So, with that, Rabina to Palmy one, did you and Ben start thinking like, you and Ben sit down like, hey, we're starting to make some money here with property. Like, are we doing this here? Or was it always just in the back, like, let's keep doing this? Or was it just like, hey, we want to move to this area now as a family?
Yeah, it was probably more to do with our dreams and wants. But, you know, like we have always spent a lot of time with our goals as well.
Yeah.
We've always been strategic with that. I think with Ben's business, so before we even got married, we kind of started this accidental business.
Yeah.
So Ben works in software. He works in tech. And someone just approached him and said, can you just quickly write me this, build me this so I could do that? And and I like encouraged him to, you know, get it done, tick it off the list. And very quickly we realized, hey, other people need
pain
this.
Point.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, we just had this software company that, while we were traveling, we were growing it. So it wasn't very glamorous. It wasn't always glamorous. There was, you know, friction. I want to go see the sites. No, I have to deal with emails. And I think we were in the bus in Japan and he just wiped out the whole database. And I was, But, you know, a lot of growth and learning as back then. And eventually we came back and I think we ended up having about 15 staff on board.
Wow.
So naturally I took a bit of a break from property and helped with that. And that's when I learnt a lot, you know, about business management. Finance structures, ATO, taxes, lawyer jargon. I think a lot of those skills have been transferable
100%.
to what I have been doing in the last couple of years in just communication skills. And
it's a really good point you make there, Jen. I've noticed the best in property treat it like an entity, like a business. It is, and it should be. Like in the past few years with I give my little property portfolio like a logo now, and like it's a business. Like it is a business. There's income, there's expenses, there's tax, there's there's tenants, there's builders. There's a team around it. So I'm glad you mentioned that because it's a really good tip for anyone out there wanting to get into property or scaling their portfolio or doing developments. Is it's an entity, it's a business. Exactly. You've got to treat it like a business. So sounds like you went down the business path, but you realized like, hey, a lot of these skills I'm going to transfer this into the business
Even just,
side.
You know, putting all the systems and processes in place, following up trades and consultants. Sorry, excuse me. And I think that also helped with having the end vision early on as seeing my duplex development as a product. Rather than, you know, it is a big project, it is a build, but at the end of the day, it's a product that I am delivering and
to a market.
Putting it to a market. So for me, the marketing side of it was pretty vital.
Yeah, just like a business, right?
Yeah, just like a business, because why would you spend your heart and soul into building this
a nice product
and then at the end not have the right, I guess, product photography, you know, marketing side of things to sell this product. So for me, I had my photographers booked in from day dot. Like I knew exactly that was the style that I wanted to represent my product. That was the style that would, best convey the emotions and the features of the home to target that.
To target the market
that
you're
I
wanting,
wanted.
the consumer that you're hoping to achieve that will pay that. Yeah,
exactly.
it's a really good
when
point.
I eventually sat down with real estate agents, the selling agents to try and decide who would go with it. You know, most of them are pretty open these days as to, you know, who, if you want to use your own photos and stuff. But there were a couple who were quite like adamant. No, we want to use our guys,
Yeah.
which is fine. That's their system and process, which is fine. But when I had a look at what their photographers did, it just didn't align with
your product.
my vision and my
yeah.
product.
Love it. Yeah.
So that came into play with who I ended up choosing.
That's cool.
And how open they are with how I want to sell
Convey your product.
and
Yeah.
market.
I think the biggest learning, I mean, that last 5 minutes is super, super valuable to anyone wanting to go down there. Yeah, I love that. Treat the property like a product.
Yeah.
And it's a commoditized business. So you've got your marketing funnel and your sales funnel. Yeah, so that's a really good point. Out of that, what would be 3 of the biggest transferable skills you think from business that you learned with Ben into the property development space, that being the product that you're selling?
Ooh, quite a specific question. I think overall, from my business learnings, from my development, my latest development project, I think the 3 biggest ones. First one, mindset. Having the right mindset and not taking things to heart. That also kind of crosses over with being female in a male-dominant industry. I think at the end of the day, whether consciously or subconsciously, women tend to have to work a little bit harder to prove themselves.
I agree.
And you just got to back yourself. Be assertive, respectfully, not being rude. But just shifting your mindset and having faith over fear.
Yeah, I love it.
Everyone has something to bring to the table, and that includes yourself.
Yeah.
And then also just start seeing as, life and challenges, it's problems that are just waiting to be solved, especially in development and building.
Yeah.
So as soon as I shifted my mindset and perspective to look at it that way, okay, it's a problem-solving game. All of a sudden I became excited when builder calls me with a problem, and I'd be like, okay, what's today's problem? Let's do it. Let's get it done and move on. That was drastically, mindset that helped me get through the build, I think.
Number 1, the biggest one is my mindset.
Mindset, yeah. Number 2, I think perseverance.
Yep.
There's going to be, with business, with construction, there's so many facets.
Yes.
Especially property development, so many sides of it that have to come together to make that end result work well, I guess. I guess in development there's the finance, there's the building team, and then the design, the fixtures and finishes, which I personally was very involved in.
Yeah.
A lot of developers probably wouldn't be as involved in, but that's my...
It's key to building your
that
product.
was my key. Yeah. I was very meticulous and intentional in choosing how I design and how I deliver the product. Perseverance and that, to make all that come together, it's not a short, instant process.
Yeah.
Things can be drawn out for years.
Yeah.
You need patience. And if you step back too and look at it from a longer perspective, like it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Not a sprint.
If I want to stay in it for long term.
Yeah.
And so that also helps me to, recognize, especially now that I've done layer villas, having the 2 that are completely different in finishes and feel. Yeah, I did put in a lot of hours in that, but then, and now thinking what's my next project going to be, and recognizing it's a marathon, not a sprint. If I keep going the rate that I did with Layer Villas, I'm heading for burnout.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't enjoy what I do anymore. So
It's good feedback.
this next project, I've decided it's going to be a single home, a high-end single home.
Love that. I love that. Just to recap the three, because that was really good advice, and so true with business, because I love business too, and all three of them are so transferable. And like you said on the last one too, with playing the long game with patience, like you don't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed.
Yeah,
and it definitely sounds like you're kind of watering and getting it ready for prime. But yeah, I guess the first one, Jen, recap mindset, thing around puzzles, they all have solutions, so sounds like you got good at that. Number 2 was perseverance. So keep moving through. It sounds like I'd sense you and Ben had that vision for the family and what you want to achieve, and they get you through those times, right?
Yeah.
For sure, the perseverance. And number 3, I love it, patience, play the long game, realize that, the real estate, it's very juicy, but it's a get rich slow.
Yes.
It's get rich patient. It's when you're trying to make the fast cash that people make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So that's unreal. What about, just to finish on, because I'm mindful of time, because I could be picking your brain for ages, so much value. You touched in there actually on the mindset piece on being a female. It is very male dominated. I understand that. I love what you said there around knowing your worth, that what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
Because hand up, I will honestly say this, and I've said this to some of the girls in our team, like, you have an unfair advantage. I believe females in this industry have an unfair advantage, because I believe 80 to 85% of decisions made in this game are through the females.
Yeah.
They're the shot callers, I've noticed.
Exactly.
And they're the ones who have the emotional attachment. They're the ones who hold a lot of the strength in cards too. And if you're a strong, independent female in this game, like, it is right. This industry needs more authenticity and women, I really feel. Hence why I'm passionate about getting women on. But what would be your advice to other females out there who want to get into doing property development, working with builders and that?
I think, like, back when I said faith over fear, like, and back yourself, it's not blind faith either. Like, do your research, work hard, familiarize yourself with industry talk, even just pick up the phone and talk to your local broker just as a start. Like, it doesn't cost anything. Spend a bit of time doing a bit of background research. And I can't stress enough the importance of networking and getting around like-minded people and like-minded females.
Yes,
100%. Hubby works in a different industry, so for me, like, it can be very lonely at times when being a developer and not really. At the end of the day, you're the only one who knows who is across every facet over that development. So, definitely find those key people that you can just have women love to chat. Yeah. Just have a vent to and cry. And like, there's a couple of key women that I just picked up the phone and I bawled my eyes out when something wrong went on site, because, people who, who have that similar interest or is doing the same thing, like, they get it. Yeah. And then on top of that, they also understood the pressures of getting the kids to school on time. Yeah. Thrown in with the tile suppliers just like putting up the square meterage price for like another $10. I think collectively, finding yourself that group of people. Good
little network. You're so right. Yeah. Hey, like, I don't know how you would have done it with the kids, and I don't have kids. Me and my partner, we look after our nephews, and I'm just like, far out. I couldn't imagine being a parent and then doing a development and things like that. So that's awesome. That's really inspiring to, I'm sure, a lot of females out there that, seeing someone like yourself on the journey now, doing great things, but also, you're a wife and you're a mum too at the end of the day, right? Like
Yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
you gotta sort of juggle it. Lastly, to finish on, obviously, as I said right at the start of the chat, I just sort of felt, this chick knows what she's doing in terms of the little detail. As I said,
Yeah.
I get through so many properties, so I can tell when someone's like, yep, they're thinking creatively here. What's your biggest, if you could give 2 to 3 of your biggest tips? Let's go internal first, because I think what set your development past that, by the way, set some big records in the suburb it was in,
Yeah.
which just is testament that the market agreed.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for, like interior wise? Is there 2 to 3 things that if you could offer some great advice to someone wanting to do development or renovation, what would that be?
Because I saw my development as a product that end users
Yep.
would use,
Yep.
I think I saw my design features as, bringing it back to our software company. The software development, people are always looking for, okay, what features does it include?
Yes.
What can it do to make my life better or
Yes.
easier? So for me, with Leia Villa's development, like, it was definitely those special moments that I had to incorporate in there, so that the buyers just couldn't walk away from. So, for example, just incorporating a window bench seat that was encased in timber framed box, and then finished with a beautiful sheer curtain. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it's just those little smart design tweaks that you could throw in there, and to make people walk away and go, oh, but I'm not going to find that anywhere else in our suburb anyway. And that was always my goal and vision from day one. Like, I just felt like there was a bit of a gap in the market in our suburb, with duplexes. As soon as you wanted anything high end, it had to be waterfront or beachside, which would be like another $1 million. But then anything on the dry block is more your entry level, lower to mid type of level of finishes.
Spec build,
yeah. And I just, once again, I just see this city and the suburb gentrifying. I knew people are coming from interstate, internationally, and they have that standard of, I want a low maintenance lock and leave place. I don't necessarily want to pay waterfront prices, but I still want high end finishes.
Yes.
I want luxe, And so there was just that gap, and I was like, well, okay, let's test the waters. I'll try and bring something that'll fill that gap and see if people want it.
Yeah. Well, clearly they do, right? Yeah. So it sounds like I guess a good value add would definitely be, I like what you said, some heartfelt features.
Yes.
Which I really like that, because you're so true. Like, that's actually when I walked through yours, there was that, I think it's the one upstairs that you're talking about, the window.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
one,
yeah.
that little space there. And it's just kind of different. And I really like the heartfelt thing. So that's a really good tip. Like, can you create spaces, features using different textures or anything to tap into the heart strings? Because again, coming from a female too, this is where I feel females have an unfair advantage. Females are the decision makers. Females generally are more coming from the heart when they build.
Yeah.
So,
and at the end of the day, it's the emotional buyer that you want.
Exactly.
Who will pay the top dollar.
Yeah, and you put them in competition together, creates a recipe for record prices, right? So that's unreal. What about in terms of floor plan? That's one thing, obviously, learning off some of the best in this game, always treat at priority.
Yeah.
Anything, tips for floor plans?
Oh, yeah. I think at the end of the day, you can make something look really, really pretty with, finishes and stuff, but floor plan is just integral.
Yeah.
I think form and function, function, what's that saying?
I don't know, but it sounds
form
good.
over function over, I don't know.
Function over form, maybe?
I really should know this, being in the design world. Basically, like, you need to get the function right before making it look pretty, because there is nothing more frustrating than to, move into something that looks beautiful, but it does nothing for you. And then, especially in a home, it'll just frustrate you every single day
Yeah.
if the floor plan's not working for you.
True.
So obviously, coming from an architecture background, as a student, I worked for a couple of very prominent architect firms.
Yeah.
So that was my education. And so, yeah, I presented my floor plan to the building designer.
Yeah.
And he helped me refine it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think collectively we came up with something that was amazing, beautiful, and functional.
Yes.
Because, also back before I even started the floor plan, I also caught up with some local real estate agents and picked their brain on what product should I create if it was to be a duplex. And one of them specifically said, look, your target market's going to be 50 to 65-year-olds. They're downsizing, make it a 3-bedroom and make it a big living space. Don't bother doing a 4-bedroom. And I just really wrestled with that advice. I just really saw that no, Palm Beach is changing. Young families are coming.
Young professionals,
young
low
professionals,
maintenance,
low maintenance, who want to go travel. And so I stuck with my gut, once again, like back to the backing yourself and trusting your instincts as well. And so I ended up doing the 4-bedroom, 2 living spaces, but I created that sense of space through volume and ceiling heights and the play of natural light as well. Placing, being intentional in that side of things rather than making it a 3-bedroom.
Yes. Love it. Yeah. So giving the sense of space. I like what you said there, the sense of space through, voids, high ceilings, natural light. Yeah. So incorporating windows in good aspects of the home.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unreal. And then lastly on the probably the most important piece, the location of where the dirt is. I know, thinking of some of your developments there, they're all in really blue chip kind of streets. And what do you guys look for in terms of where the dirt's at? Like, is there anything you look at there, like aspect, frontage? Like, is there much you look at?
Yeah. Okay, for me, first thing, non-negotiable is orientation of the site. Best is obviously north.
Yep.
Northeast is also beautiful. You get that sea breeze being so close to the beach. Anything south, west, I try to, I'm not going to jump on that too quickly. And then next would also be the neighbours, the existing buildings around that block.
Yep.
If I was to do another duplex, how close is next door going to be? What shadows is that going to cast on our backyard? So, yeah.
That's a big one, actually. Yeah. I've had a lot of clients who will say that. Great build, they love the home, but it's just we don't feel it's private, like neighbours looking into our backyard.
I think at the end of it, like you build this thing, but when it's surrounded by like all sides of like everyone else's double story, it's like, you do feel that sense of cramp and it could affect your sale price, your end sale price. So I'm pretty particular about that.
So there'd be the big two, orientation of the block.
Yep.
Ideally like a northeast kind of.
Northeast,
capturing that sunlight, especially here on the coast, and then having a look at existing neighbours.
Yeah.
I've actually haven't heard that one before. That's a good one.
Yeah, right. I think just with an architecture background, that's kind of key as well.
Is.
Like the building needs to respond to your immediate environment, and, obviously there are still clever ways to get around things like that, limitations like that. But if I could, during site acquisition phase, look out for that to make the job a bit easier. Yeah.
You'd look
definitely. It's big. Yeah, it's massive.
Absolutely unreal. And this is probably just the last question, a selfish one on the why. Is it more the margin or is it more the stress of it? House versus doing a duplex in terms of your turnkey product on the back end. You said this next one you're thinking of doing a house.
Yeah, look, we got offered this next site that we've purchased off market, and it's literally in one of the blue chip streets. I've been waiting for something in that street
Yep.
for a while, and it popped up. So we moved on that very quickly, and it's the perfect site for another high-end duplex, given its close proximity to Tally Creek and that.
Yep.
But yeah, I think just going back to the marathon, not a sprint, and recognizing the season of life that I'm in at the moment with young children, you know, don't go against that. I can't, it's not sustainable for me to keep going the rate that I was going and do another set of duplex there. So, and also personally, I do have a love for high-end single freestanding home.
Yeah.
So I think a little bit of both. I think this time I'm going to go all in with just that one set of finishes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully make it a banger.
Yeah. I've been telling a few people, I reckon in the next 3 to 4 years, I mean, now even like I said it like 12 months ago, I reckon the margins are probably, I reckon it's where it's at is a solid family home in a good street, good location. Because again, we probably didn't have the market of people, I'm speaking on Gold Coast's behalf, but like probably the income or the market of high end on the coast. And now there's been a few record sales and turnkey, and it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, where is the market for the family that want this turnkey? They want the space probably more than a duplex.
Yes.
Where are their homes?
Yeah.
You see the same buyers at every turnkey house
Exactly.
across the coast.
Right.
Like they're everywhere. They're all the same. They all say the same thing. It's like, well, we're happy to sacrifice on suburb. I see some like they're in Cooley, then they're in Palmy, and then they're in Broady. It's just like they're actually looking for the house.
Yeah.
So if you can create that in a good location, I think that's going to pop.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think there's also a need for that too.
Big
there's
need.
A short supply.
Very
in
short.
Palm Beach
Yeah.
specifically.
Very short. So I guess that's a good tip to any buyers or developers out there, just assessing what market you're into. So understanding what is in need. Similar to, again, we go full circle, treat it like a product. What does the market in that particular suburb need?
Looking for,
What's going to commoditize the best profit? Where's the low supply? Where's the high demand?
Where's that gap?
Where's the gap? Yeah, absolutely love it. Hey, really appreciate your time, Jen. I know we could keep going on, but there's some absolute banger tips in there. I think it's exciting as well. A bit of the backstory. I know it's going to inspire a lot of people out there who are on the path, but more in particular, I think females. I think it's amazing. And where can people reach you, or some of these females as well? I know plenty of females who'd love to obviously cry with you at some point. So where's the best place they can find you?
Yeah, just on _projects on Instagram.
So that's where all your portfolio is going to start building, you reckon? Yeah.
And I try to, my original goal of starting the Instagram account was to really show people the process, not just the flashy bits at the end. You know, the tears that come along the way. Yeah. And just how big of a job it is. But, you know, it's doable, like one bite at a time. Yeah. So, yeah.
Play the long game. Goes back to your third tip, patience key. And I always finish on, what would be your biggest tip to buyers as we wrap up 2024? You feel, I mean, we're coming to the halfway point, but back end of 2024, what would be your biggest tip to buyers out there right now?
Ooh. It's funny you say that, because I kind of just get stuck into what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't tend to get too distracted with all the noise and everything else that this person's saying, that media's saying, and all that stuff. Like, I think it's just also believing in yourself, and it's just trusting that the market is a long-term thing, not an immediate thing. Like, there's never a good time to get in the market. You get in the market when it makes sense for you and your personal circumstances and your portfolio goals. So I think, that might be what I would say. Like,
that's
at
gold.
the end of the day, just focus on what you and your family's goals are. Get some advice around that.
Yep.
Build your A team. Get the right finance advisors, brokers, and collectively make some decisions as to what and where you can buy or do. And then from then on, they can also help you then set up the right company structure or trust finance structure behind all that, depending on your personal goal. So, yeah, try not to get too caught up with interest rates going down and waiting for it and for it never to happen. Just keep working on your own stuff.
Love it. Put the blinkers
Don't get
on.
distracted.
That's a banger tip. I love that because analysis paralysis, hey?
Yeah.
Like some people just, they're waiting for the right time to buy. But what I'm hearing there is put the blinkers on if it aligns with you. Like people always ask me how the market is or when's the right time to buy. I always say when you're feeling comfortable, when you can comfortably afford to do so and you feel confident.
Yeah.
Because there's...
But then also like get the right advice as well.
Yeah.
The right advice.
Yeah, 100%. No, wow. Amazing app. Jen, appreciate it. Common Projects, check out the journey and appreciate all the wisdom shared.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks,
It's
Jen.
been great.
No worries. Thank you.
Cheers.